Midnight. I'm in the garage, fixing a coffee machine for the 1,000th time, when my wife walks in, tosses a suitcase on the floor, and says, "Cold as a New England January. I'm returning to my ex. I used you for money. You knew it, right?" I just nod. She leaves. An hour later, her own lawyer calls, voice trembling. "The house, the accounts. My God, what did you tell her yesterday?" "My name is David Chen." Wait, scratch that. David Miller. 42 years old, IT consultant in this dying mill town of Millbrook, Massachusetts. Used to think I was smart. Used to think my wife Marta loved me, used me for money. Hell, I wish she'd told me sooner. I could have switched to generic coffee years ago. The rain lashes against the garage windows like angry fingers, and I'm sitting here surrounded by broken appliances I pretend to fix when I need to think. Tonight, thinking hurts more than usual. Marta's words keep echoing. "You knew it, right?" The worst part? Maybe I did know. Maybe I just didn't want to admit that a woman like her, sharp, ambitious, beautiful, could never really love a guy like me. Blue-collar background, self-made but still rough around the edges, the kind of man who fixes things with his hands while she moves millions with her mind. She's an advertising executive at Pinnacle Creative, the kind of place where they serve artisanal coffee and discuss brand synergy, like it's a religion. I met her at a tech conference 5 years ago. She was presenting. I was installing their network. She laughed at my jokes. I thought that meant something. Our house, my house now, I guess, sits on the outskirts of Millbrook, a fixer-upper I've been slowly renovating. Marta always complained it wasn't finished, wasn't modern enough, wasn't worthy of her success. Now I understand why she never helped with the renovations. Hard to improve something you're planning to abandon. The phone rings again. This time it's my daughter Amelia calling from college. "Dad? Mom just called me. She said you two are getting divorced. She said some things about you that don't sound right." My throat tightens. "What kind of things, sweetheart?" "She said you were controlling, that you never supported her career, that you made her feel trapped." Amelia's voice wavers. "But Dad, that's not... I mean, you always bragged about her work. You drove her to those late meetings when her car was in the shop." "Those late meetings." "Right. I should have wondered why her boss Jake needed her there until midnight so often. Jake Morrison, smooth as silk, 10 years younger than me, drives a BMW that costs more than I make in 2 years. Married to some society princess, but apparently that doesn't stop him from sampling the talent at work. Your mother's going through something right now, I tell Amelia, though the words taste like ash. Don't worry about us. Focus on your studies. After I hang up, I find myself digging through Marta's abandoned things. She took most of her clothes, but left behind some paperwork, old phones, random items she deemed worthless. In her jewelry box, under a tangle of cheap earrings, I find a burner phone. My hands shake as I scroll through the messages. There they are, months of them, explicit and devastating. Jake, can't wait to feel you again. Your husband doesn't deserve you. Marta, he's so pathetic. Thinks fixing the garbage disposal makes him useful. When this is over, I'll take half of everything and never look back. Jake, Victoria says she can help with the accounts. She knows his passwords. Victoria, Marta's best friend since college, the socialite wife of a successful contractor, the woman who's been in my house dozens of times, who I've cooked for, who calls me brother-in-law and hugs me at family gatherings. She's been helping them rob me blind. My phone buzzes. Text from unknown number. You don't know half of it. Stay out of this, or you'll lose more than your wife. I stare at the message, feeling something cold and sharp crystallize in my chest. They think I'm beaten. They think I'll just roll over and let them carve up my life like a Thanksgiving turkey. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The next morning, I wake up in my empty house to the sound of my neighbor, Mrs. Patterson's voice carrying over the fence. She's talking to someone about poor David and how everyone saw this coming. Apparently, my humiliation is already the talk of Millbrook. I drag myself to the kitchen and make coffee with my ancient machine, the one Marta always complained about. It tastes better than it has in years. My phone rings. It's my son Ross calling from his dorm room 3 states away. Dad, what the hell is going on? Mom called me crying, saying you threw her out. But then Victoria posted something on Facebook about how you've been emotionally abusive for years. None of this makes sense. Victoria's already spinning the narrative. Of course she is. Ross, I need you to hear this from me. Your mother has been having an affair with her boss. She told me last night that she only married me for money and she's leaving. I didn't throw her out. She left. Silence on the other end. Then, Jesus, Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Be smart. Don't believe everything you hear on social media. After we hang up, I drive to Murphy's garage on the outskirts of town. Big Mike Murphy has been my friend since high school, back when we both thought we'd end up working at the mill like our fathers. He ended up fixing cars, I ended up fixing computers. Both of us learned early that people will always need things repaired. Mike's under the hood of a pickup truck when I walk in, his massive frame making the engine compartment look small. He emerges, wiping grease on a rag, and takes one look at my face. Ah, shit. What happened? I tell him everything. Mike listens without interruption, occasionally shaking his head or muttering curse words under his breath. When I finish, he sets down his tools and looks at me seriously. Dave, I'm going to give you some advice my old man gave me when the Kowalski brothers tried to muscle in on his territory back in the day. If you want to fight back, do it smart. You're the underdog. Make 'em bleed where it hurts, their pride. I'm not looking for a fight, Mike. I just want to understand what happened. Bullshit. His voice is gentle but firm. You're looking for justice, and maybe a little revenge. Nothing wrong with that, as long as you're smart about it. That afternoon, I decide to do some reconnaissance. I drive to Pinnacle Creative, a sleek glass building downtown that looks like it was designed by someone who hates windows but loves showing off. I park across the street and wait. At 6 p.m., Marta emerges with Jake. They're not trying to hide anymore. His hand is on her lower back. She's laughing at something he said. They get into his BMW and drive toward the expensive part of town, where the houses have gates and the lawns look like golf courses. I follow at a distance, feeling like a private investigator in a bad movie. They pull into the driveway of a modern monstrosity that screams, I have more money than taste. Through the windows, I can see them kissing in the foyer. My phone buzzes. Text from Marta. Coming by tomorrow to get the rest of my things. Please don't be there. This doesn't have to be harder than it already is. I text back, It's your house too. Come whenever you want. But as I sit there watching my wife of 5 years make out with her boss in his McMansion, I'm already planning. Mike's right. If I'm going to fight back, I need to be smart about it. The next evening, Marta shows up with Victoria in tow. They're both dressed like they're going to a gallery opening afterward, all sharp lines and expensive accessories. Victoria gives me a pitying look that makes my skin crawl. David, honey, Victoria says in her practiced socialite voice, I know this is hard, but sometimes people just grow apart. Marta needs space to find herself. Find herself in Jake Morrison's bed, you mean? Victoria's mask slips for just a moment. That's unnecessarily crude, but accurate. Marta emerges from the bedroom with another suitcase. She won't look at me directly. I'll be staying with Victoria for a while, until we figure out the arrangements. What arrangements? The divorce, David, the house, the accounts, custody schedules for when the kids visit. She finally meets my eyes. I've already spoken to a lawyer. Funny thing about lawyers, I say, keeping my voice level. They usually want to know about all the assets before they start dividing them up. Something flickers across Victoria's face. Worry, maybe even fear. What do you mean? I mean, I've been doing some accounting of my own. Amazing what you discover when you actually look at your bank statements. It's a bluff, mostly, but it lands. Marta and Victoria exchange a quick glance that tells me everything I need to know. After they leave, I spend the evening going through every financial document I can find. Credit card statements, bank records, investment accounts. It takes hours, but eventually I see the pattern. Small withdrawals, always just under the reporting threshold. Transfers to accounts I don't recognize. Money moved around like chess pieces. They've been robbing me for months, maybe longer. And Victoria, with her access to my house and her husband's connections in the financial world, has been helping every step of the way. My phone buzzes again. Another unknown number. Stop digging or you'll regret it. I smile for the first time in days. They're scared. Good. They should be. 3 days later, I'm sitting in the office of Patricia Hendricks, the best divorce attorney in the county. She's a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s who looks like she could dissect a hostile witness with a butter knife. Mr. Miller, I have to ask, are you absolutely certain about these financial irregularities? I slide a folder across her desk. Bank statements, credit reports, transaction histories. Someone's been moving my money around like they own it. She flips through the documents, her expression growing more serious with each page. This is extensive. We're talking about potential fraud charges. I don't want to press charges. I just want my money back, and I want them to know I'm not the pushover they think I am. Patricia nods. The good news is that most of these transfers appear to be from joint accounts, which means we can freeze everything pending the divorce proceedings. The bad news is that your wife has already filed, and she's claiming emotional distress and seeking alimony. Based on what? According to her filing, you've been controlling and financially abusive throughout the marriage. She's claiming she needs support to rebuild her life after years of psychological trauma. I laugh, but there's no humor in it. She makes twice what I do. That's what we'll argue. But David, I need you to understand something. Divorce is war, and your opponents have already started firing. If you want to win this, you need to be prepared to get your hands dirty. That evening, I drive to Murphy's garage again. Mike's working late, as usual, and the place smells like motor oil and honest work. How'd it go with the lawyer? He asks without looking up from the engine he's rebuilding. She says it's war. Good. About time you started thinking like a soldier instead of a victim. He straightens up and fixes me with a serious look. You ready to hear some things you might not like? Shoot. I've been asking around. Your wife and her boyfriend aren't exactly subtle. Half the town knows about their little affair, and the other half is talking about how you got played. But here's the interesting part. Jake Morrison's got a reputation. What kind of reputation? The kind where he's done this before. Married women, younger employees, anyone who catches his fancy. His wife knows, but she looks the other way because she likes the lifestyle. Word is, she's got her own side pieces to keep her busy. This is news to me. How do you know all this? Because I fix cars for half the rich assholes in this county, and they love to gossip while they wait. Jake's BMW has been in here 3 times in the past month. Each time, he's got a different woman in the passenger seat. The implications hit me like a sledgehammer. Marta doesn't know. Nope. She thinks she's special. She thinks he's going to leave his wife and marry her, and they'll live happily ever after in that glass palace of his. I feel something shift inside me, like tumblers falling into place in a lock. Mike, I need a favor. Name it. I need you to teach me about cars. Specifically, I need to know what happens when you put sugar in a gas tank. Mike grins. Now you're talking my language. The next Saturday, there's a charity function at the Millbrook Country Club, one of those events where rich people pay $500 for a plate of rubber chicken so they can feel good about themselves. Marta mentioned it months ago, back when we were still pretending to be married. She and Jake will be there, along with Victoria and most of the town's social elite. I wasn't invited, of course. But that doesn't mean I can't show up. I spend the afternoon getting ready, shower, shave, my best suit, the one Marta bought me for her company Christmas party last year. I look good, or at least I look like I belong in their world. The country club is exactly what you'd expect, all wood paneling and old money pretension. I walk in like I own the place, nod to the hostess, and make my way to the bar. The trick to crashing parties is confidence. Act like you belong, and most people will assume you do. I spot them immediately. Marta's wearing a red dress that probably cost more than my mortgage payment, and Jake's got his hand possessively on her waist. Victoria's holding court nearby, surrounded by other wives who hang on her every word like she's dispensing wisdom from on high. I order a whiskey and wait. Eventually, Jake excuses himself to use the restroom. This is my chance. I intercept him in the hallway outside the men's room. He sees me coming and his face goes pale. David, we need to talk. No, Jake, we really don't. I step closer, close enough that he has to look up at me. Despite his expensive clothes and fancy car, he's smaller than I am, softer. But I do have a message for you. Look, I know this is awkward. Awkward? I laugh. Jake, you're sleeping with my wife and stealing my money. Awkward doesn't begin to cover it. His face flushes. I'm not stealing anything. Marta makes her own decisions, including the decision to drain our joint accounts, the decision to give you access to our financial information, the decision to let Victoria help you move money around like you're running a shell game. Now he looks genuinely scared. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you don't. I lean in closer. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk back in there, tell my wife that this little game is over, and then you're both going to figure out how to put back every penny you've stolen, or I'm going to make your life very, very complicated. Are you threatening me? I'm promising you. I smile, and apparently it's not a pleasant expression because he takes a step back. See, the thing about being underestimated your whole life is that people don't see you coming. They think you're too nice, too dumb, too beaten down to fight back. But you know what I learned in my business, Jake? Every system has vulnerabilities. Every network has weak points. Every person has secrets they don't want exposed. I pull out my phone and show him a photo. Him with a young woman who definitely isn't Marta, taken outside a hotel downtown. That's Sarah from your marketing department, isn't it? Pretty girl. Married too, if I remember correctly. I wonder what your wife would think about your mentoring style. Jake's face goes white. How did you get this photo? Easy. I hired a private investigator. Same guy who's been documenting your affair with my wife, your financial irregularities, and your pattern of intimate harassment in the workplace. Amazing what you can discover when you actually start looking. It's mostly bullshit. I took that photo myself after following him for 3 days, but Jake doesn't know that. What do you want? I want my life back. I want my money back. And I want you to understand that I'm not the pathetic cuckold you think I am. I put my phone away. Now, shall we rejoin the party? We walk back into the main room together, Jake looking like he's seen a ghost. Marta spots us immediately and hurries over. David, what are you doing here? Just having a chat with Jake about mutual interests. I turn to address the small crowd that's gathered around us. Actually, since I have everyone's attention, I'd like to make a toast. I raise my whiskey glass. The room falls silent. To true love, I say, my voice carrying across the room. To honest friends. To spouses who honor their vows and business partners who respect boundaries. And to the importance of really knowing someone before you trust them with your heart or your bank account. The silence is deafening. Marta's face is crimson. Jake looks like he wants to disappear, and Victoria is staring at me with naked hatred. Cheers, I say, and drain my glass. As I walk toward the exit, I can hear the whispers starting behind me. By tomorrow, the whole town will be talking, and that's exactly what I want. The next week passes in a blur of legal meetings, financial investigations, and increasingly desperate phone calls from Marta. She's starting to understand that her fairy tale romance might not have the ending she imagined. Patricia, my lawyer, calls with updates every few days. We've frozen the joint accounts pending investigation. Your wife's attorney is claiming harassment, but the financial evidence is pretty damning. They're going to have a hard time explaining those transfers. What about Jake? Interesting development there. Apparently, his wife hired her own investigator after your little performance at the country club. She's filing for divorce too, and she's not being nearly as generous as your wife hoped you'd be. I'm sitting in my kitchen when Victoria shows up unannounced. She doesn't knock, just walks in like she owns the place. I guess old habits die hard. We need to talk, she says, her socialite mask completely gone. This is Victoria without pretense. Sharp, calculating, dangerous. Make yourself at home, I say dryly. Coffee? Cut the shit, David. I know what you're doing. Drinking coffee in my own kitchen? You think you're clever, don't you? Think you can destroy people's lives because your feelings got hurt? I set down my mug and really look at her. Victoria's always been beautiful in that polished, artificial way that money can buy, but right now she looks desperate, scared. Destroy lives? Victoria, you helped my wife steal from me for months. You gave her access to my personal information. You've been spreading lies about me all over town, and you want to talk to me about destroying lives? Marta deserves better than you? Maybe, but she didn't deserve my money while she was sleeping with her boss. Victoria flinches at the crude language. Good. I'm tired of pretending to be polite. You don't understand the situation, she says. There are things you don't know. Like what? Like the fact that Jake's done this before? Like the fact that his wife knows about all his affairs and doesn't care? Like the fact that Marta thinks she's special when she's just the latest in a long line of conquests? Now Victoria looks genuinely surprised. How did you find out? Victoria, I may be a blue-collar guy from the wrong side of town, but I'm not stupid. You all made the mistake of thinking I was too pathetic to fight back. She sits down across from me, and for the first time since I've known her, she looks small, vulnerable. David, if this comes out, if people find out what we did, my marriage, my reputation, everything I've built, will be destroyed. Yes, that's generally what happens when you get caught stealing. It wasn't supposed to go this far. It was just, Marta was so unhappy, and Jake was so charming, and she asked for help with just a few small things. Small things like draining my accounts? We were going to pay it back. After the divorce, after she got her settlement, we were going to make sure you got everything you deserved. I laugh, but there's no humor in it. Everything I deserved? Victoria, you helped my wife cheat on me, steal from me, and humiliate me in front of the entire town. What exactly did you think I deserved? She doesn't have an answer for that. Here's what's going to happen, I continue. You're going to tell me everything, every detail, every plan, every lie you've helped spread, and then you're going to help me fix this mess. And if I don't? I pull out my phone and show her a photo. Her coming out of a downtown hotel with a man who definitely isn't her husband. Then your husband gets to see some interesting photos of his own. Her face goes white. You bastard. I learned from the best. 3 hours later, I know everything. The affair started 6 months ago at a company retreat. Victoria encouraged it because she's always resented me. Apparently, I embarrassed her at a party years ago by mentioning that her husband's construction company was being investigated for safety violations. She saw Marta's affair as an opportunity for revenge. The financial theft was Jake's idea, but Victoria provided the expertise. Her husband's business connections gave her access to offshore accounts and money-moving services. They'd been planning to drain me dry during the divorce proceedings, leaving me with nothing, while Marta started her new life as Jake's trophy wife. There's just one problem with their plan. Jake never intended to leave his wife. He's done this dance before, and it always ends the same way. The mistress gets discarded, the wife gets a nice piece of jewelry as an apology, and life goes on. Marta doesn't know this yet, but she's about to find out. That evening, I drive to Jake's house, his real house, the one he shares with his wife. It's even more ostentatious than I remembered, all glass and steel and aggressive modernity. I park across the street and wait. At 8 p.m., Marta's car pulls into the driveway. She gets out, carrying what looks like an overnight bag. She's moving in? This is it. The moment she thinks she's finally getting her fairy tale ending. I watch her ring the doorbell. I watch Jake answer, but instead of welcoming her inside, he steps out onto the porch. Even from across the street, I can see that this isn't the reunion she was expecting. They talk for maybe 5 minutes. Then Jake goes back inside, leaving Marta standing alone on the porch with her suitcase. She rings the doorbell again. No answer. She tries calling. I can see her through the window, phone pressed to her ear, but Jake doesn't pick up. Finally, she gets back in her car and drives away. I follow her. She goes to Victoria's house, but the lights are off and no one answers the door there either. Victoria's probably hiding, knowing that everything's about to come crashing down. Marta sits in her car outside Victoria's house for almost an hour. Then she drives to the one place she has left to go. Home. I beat her there by 10 minutes. When she pulls into our driveway, I'm sitting on the front porch with a beer, like I've been waiting for her. She gets out of the car slowly, like she's walking to her own execution. Her makeup is smeared, her hair is disheveled, and she's carrying that same overnight bag she packed for her new life. Hello, Marta. She stops at the bottom of the porch steps. David, can I come in? Just for tonight? It's your house, too. She climbs the steps and sits down beside me, careful to leave space between us. For a long moment, we sit in silence. He's not leaving his wife, she says finally. No, he's not. You knew. I suspected. Men like Jake don't leave wives like his. Too much money at stake. She starts crying then. Not the delicate tears of a movie heroine, but ugly, desperate sobs that shake her whole body. I'm so sorry, David. I'm so sorry. For the affair? For the stealing? For humiliating me in front of the entire town? Or just for getting caught? For all of it. For everything. She looks at me with red-rimmed eyes. I know you'll never forgive me. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But I need you to know that I never meant for it to go this far. But you did mean for it to go somewhere. She nods miserably. I felt trapped. Like my life was over, like I'd never be anything more than a small-town wife married to a small-town man. Jake made me feel special, important. And I made you feel small. No, yes, I don't know. She wipes her nose with the back of her hand. You made me feel safe, comfortable. But I didn't want safe anymore. I wanted excitement. I wanted to feel like I was living instead of just existing. So you decided to take half my money with you when you left. That was Victoria's idea. She said you owed me for all the years I supported your business, all the times I played the dutiful wife at your work functions. Supported my business? Marta, you complained about my work constantly. You were embarrassed by what I did for a living. I know that now. She's quiet for a moment. Victoria? She's not who I thought she was. She's not who any of us thought she was. No, she's not. We sit in silence again. Finally, Marta speaks up. What happens now? Now? Now we get divorced. We divide our assets, our actual assets, not the ones you and your friend stole. You find somewhere else to live, and we both try to figure out how to rebuild our lives. The kids? We'll be fine. They're adults. They'll make their own decisions about who they want to have relationships with. She nods, accepting this. David? Yeah? For what it's worth, you're not a small-town man. You're the best man I've ever known, and I was too stupid to appreciate that until I'd already lost it. It's probably the most honest thing she's said to me in years. But it's also too little, too late. Go inside, Marta. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we start over. The annual Millbrook Founders' Day Festival happens every October, right in the center of town. It's one of those quaint New England traditions that brings out everyone from teenagers to grandparents, complete with apple cider, craft booths, and a small stage where local politicians make speeches and high school bands perform. This year, I have a different kind of performance in mind. It's been 2 weeks since Marta's breakdown on our front porch. She's been staying at a motel outside town while our lawyers hash out the divorce details. Jake Morrison has apparently decided that discretion is the better part of valor. He's taken a sudden sabotage from Pinnacle Creative and is rumored to be looking for work in another state. Victoria hasn't been seen in public since our kitchen conversation, but the town's memory is long, and the gossip mill never stops grinding. I can feel the whispers following me everywhere I go. Poor David Miller. Got played by his own wife. Too stupid to see it coming, too weak to do anything about it. Today, that changes. I arrive at the festival early, while the vendors are still setting up their booths. The stage is empty except for a podium and some folding chairs. Perfect. Big Mike finds me near the apple cider stand, looking unusually nervous. Dave, you sure about this? Once you ring this bell, you can't unring it. I'm sure. Because there are other ways to handle this. Quieter ways. I shake my head. Mike, I've spent my whole life being quiet, being reasonable, being the guy who doesn't make waves. Look where it got me. He nods reluctantly. All right, but I'm staying close, just in case things get ugly. They're already ugly. I'm just making sure everyone can see it clearly. By noon, the festival is in full swing. Families wander between booths, kids run around with balloons, and the local Chamber of Commerce president is preparing to give his annual State of the Town address. The perfect crowd for what I have planned. I spot Marta near the craft booths, looking lost and alone. She sees me and starts to approach, but I shake my head. Not yet. Victoria is harder to find, but eventually I see her lurking near the edge of the crowd, wearing oversized sunglasses like a celebrity trying to avoid paparazzi. She's lost weight, and her usual perfect composure has been replaced by nervous energy. Jake Morrison is nowhere to be seen, probably for the best. The chamber president, a pompous little man named Henderson who sells insurance and thinks it makes him important, takes the stage and begins his speech. Something about community values and supporting local business and the importance of trust in small-town life. Trust, perfect. I wait until he's finished, until the polite applause dies down, until he asks if anyone else would like to address the community. Then I walk up to the stage. I'd like to say a few words. Henderson looks surprised, but hands me the microphone. The crowd settles down, curious about what David Miller, the town's most recent scandal, might have to say. I look out at the sea of faces. Some sympathetic, some curious, some clearly hoping for more drama to fuel their gossip for weeks to come. In the back, I can see Mike giving me a thumbs up. Thank you all for coming out today, I begin, my voice carrying clearly through the speakers. I know many of you have been talking about me lately, so I thought I'd give you something worth talking about. A few nervous chuckles from the crowd. My name is David Miller. I've lived in this town for 15 years. I've fixed your computers, installed your networks, helped your businesses run more efficiently. I've been a good neighbor, a faithful husband, and an honest businessman. At least, I thought I was. The crowd is completely silent now. 3 weeks ago, my wife of 5 years told me she was leaving me for another man. She also told me that she'd only married me for my money, and that she'd been stealing from our joint accounts for months with the help of her lover and her best friend. I can see people shifting uncomfortably. This is more honesty than most small-town festivals usually feature. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Poor David. Got played by a woman who was out of his league, should have seen it coming, should have been smarter, should have been better. I pause, letting that sink in. And you know what? You're probably right. I should have been smarter. I should have paid more attention to the warning signs. I should have realized that when someone shows you who they are, you should believe them. Marta is crying now, standing at the edge of the crowd with her hands over her face. But here's what I learned from this experience. It's not about being smart enough or good enough or worthy enough. It's about character. It's about the choices we make when we think no one is watching. It's about whether we keep our promises or break them when something better comes along. I pull out my phone and hold it up. I have in my hand documented evidence of financial theft, adultery, and conspiracy to defraud. I have photos, text messages, bank records, and recorded confessions. I have enough evidence to destroy the reputations and possibly the freedom of several people in this town. The silence is so complete I can hear birds singing in the trees. But I'm not going to use it. You know why? Because I'm better than that. Because revenge might feel good in the moment, but it doesn't heal anything. It doesn't fix what's broken. It just breaks more things. I can see confusion on some faces. This isn't the dramatic confrontation they were expecting. Instead, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to forgive. Not because the people who hurt me deserve forgiveness, but because I deserve peace. I'm going to rebuild my life, not by tearing down theirs, but by making mine better. I look directly at Marta, then at Victoria. My wife will face the natural consequences of her choices. Her lover already has. Her accomplice will have to live with what she's done, but they'll face those consequences without any additional help from me. I turn back to the crowd. I'm telling you all this because I want you to understand something. When someone hurts you, you have a choice. You can become bitter and vengeful, or you can become better and stronger. You can let their betrayal define you, or you can use it to redefine yourself. I pause, gathering my thoughts for the final push. I choose to be better. I choose to be stronger. And I choose to move forward with my life instead of staying stuck in someone else's mistakes. The applause starts slowly, just a few people clapping. Then it builds, becoming genuine and sustained. Not the polite applause of a small-town gathering, but real appreciation for something real. As I step down from the stage, people approach me. Handshakes, pats on the back, words of support. Mrs. Patterson, my gossipy neighbor, actually hugs me and whispers, "I always knew you were a good man, David." But the moment that matters most comes when Amelia and Ross appear at my side. They drove up from their respective colleges without telling me, apparently having seen social media posts about the festival. "Dad," Amelia says, her voice thick with emotion, "that was incredible." Ross just hugs me, hard. "I'm proud of you, old man." As the crowd disperses, I see Marta one last time. She's standing alone by her car, watching me with an expression I can't quite read. Regret, maybe, or recognition of what she lost. She raises her hand in a small wave. I nod back. Then she gets in her car and drives away. Victoria approaches me as I'm walking to my truck. She looks terrible, hollow-eyed and haggard. "David, Don't," I interrupt. "Just don't. We both know what you did. We both know why you did it, and we both know you'll have to live with it. That's punishment enough." She nods and walks away without another word. Big Mike falls into step beside me as I reach my truck. "So that's it? That's your big revenge?" I think about it for a moment. "Mike, I realize something up there. The best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's becoming someone they could never destroy." He grins and slaps my back. "You know what, Dave? I think you might be smarter than all of us." As I drive home through the autumn afternoon, I feel something I haven't felt in months. Peace. Not happiness, exactly. That will come later. But peace. The knowledge that I've handled this the right way. The knowledge that I can look at myself in the mirror without shame. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. For a moment, I tense, expecting another threat. Instead, it's a simple message. "Well done." I don't know who sent it, and I don't care. I delete it and drive home to my empty house that suddenly doesn't feel empty anymore. 3 months later, the divorce is final. Marta moved to Boston, where she's working for a smaller agency and trying to rebuild her career. Jake Morrison did indeed leave town. Last I heard, he was selling insurance in Florida. Victoria's marriage survived, barely, but she's no longer the social queen of Millbrook. As for me, I'm doing fine. Better than fine, actually. My business is growing, my kids visit regularly, and I've started dating again. Nothing serious yet. But it's nice to remember that there are good people in the world. Sometimes, late at night, I think about what might have happened if I'd chosen the path of revenge instead of forgiveness. If I'd used all that evidence to destroy them completely, if I'd let my anger consume me the way theirs consumed them. But then I remember that October afternoon, standing on that stage in front of my whole town, choosing to be better instead of bitter. And I know I made the right choice. The best revenge, it turns out, is a life well lived.